Good afternoon. It's officially after 12, so we're going to say good afternoon for our Eastern time zone people. In the house, I put us on the senior living podcast because you're talking to two seniors. Don just knocked on the door of seniors and he entered it. And so being a senior, being a coach, we have to put him on the senior living podcast. So Don, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
All right. My name is Don Keller. I am a new executive life coach. And really, I serve a lot of different people, but from a business perspective, I like to help entrepreneurs and seasoned executives.
Mm-hmm. So I knew you when you were in the trade show consulting business. Mm-hmm. And so you did that for 20 plus years?
30 years.
Yeah. 30 years. Okay.
35.
Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah. Shows you how old I am.
Yes. We can see with your gray hair that you're definitely qualified to be on the Senior Living Podcast. But what I think
Thank you so much, Pete.
Well, I have a fair share of my gray hair too. So I just don't have a beard to show it. So tell our viewers, because I thought it's remarkable, because usually 35 years, you just ride it off into the sunset, retire, get your retirement, and just kind of travel and do something. What spurred you to change one? I mean, I know you've been coaching because we talked briefly about it to your team, but why a drastic career change like that?
Well, I think age is somewhat of a sobering thing. Mm-hmm. And I had been doing trade shows for so long. I started as a designer. I worked for many companies in between. And then I started Blue Sky Exhibits about 20 years ago. We hit 20 years, July of last year. Mm-hmm. And so I think it just became sobering that at this point in my career and my life, I only have so many years left. And what do I want to accomplish? Mm-hmm. So it's really not always about money or success. It's about what brings you joy and happiness and fulfillment and abundance. And so one of the favorite things that I did as a business owner mm-hmm. was helping my staff. Mm-hmm. I loved my staff. I lived through COVID with them. I lived through multiple economic downturns. And I just really liked helping them. And essentially that was a little bit like coaching. Mm-hmm. So when I did not have a coach, when I was growing up or even in my career, I think I had a few mentors in my life, but mm-hmm. not really a coach. And so when I found out about this job or this profession, I latched onto it mm-hmm. and went back to school. Had not been in school in 35 plus years.
Had to reactivate the brain.
I did. I had to go to class twice a week, and I had to take a test every Friday, and it was crazy. But so I became a certified professional coach through the International Coaching Federation, mm-hmm. and started a new business January of 2024.
Wow, I love that, because one, it's challenging to start a new career at age 60.
Yes.
My brother did the same thing. He was pharmaceutical recruiting, and he went out and got a certification. Same place you did. And I remember him talking about all the tests and all the role playing. And he says, man, it's like I'm back in college again.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they just hand a certification to you. They don't do it that way. So they're preparing you to enter in that. What would you say, like, you said it like fulfills you and you enjoy. What part of the coaching have you enjoyed so far as the new chapter in your life?
Well, I think the best part of this transition is that it's my new 100% directive to help people. Mm-hmm. So as a CEO and an owner, there were so many challenges in business that helping people was really a low priority part of mm-hmm. that. So to be able to spend my days doing that specifically is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm new to it. I mean, I've only been doing it since the beginning of this year. So it's just wonderful to see people succeed. And coaching really does have a success rate. Like trade shows, we would design and build in a structure that would promote a brand or product. And we would see results, but they weren't very obvious and they weren't definitely not immediate. I think people could enjoy themselves in that experience, but the financial repercussion was difficult to see. With this, there's immediate results. I mean, you see people actually making progress in their life. And when I said, joy, seeing people feel fulfilled, having abundance in their life, I think it's almost biblical at some point. And I really gravitate to that. So I've enjoyed seeing it. And I'm excited that this is my new profession. I'm excited that people are allowing me to be part of their journey. They trust me. I take it seriously. And so, there's a little bit of stress like before, but much different than owning a company.
Yeah, I like what you said when you talk. I was up before, or it was a couple of days ago when I was talking to you. So you're the CEO of Blue Sky. You're managing a team, 80 people?
No, about 50 people.
50. Okay, 50 people. So it's not like you got two reports. I mean, you got a lot of people in a group. You go through COVID, which that's a whole podcast in itself. But what I want to ask you the question is, you had mentors, but you didn't have coaches through the journey. Why do you think you didn't seek them out, or what was there any reason why, now that you're coaching and you look back and see, could I have benefited, or was that an option that could have really helped me in my career to even go higher? What do you think it was?
I think, number one, it's my age group and culture. I just don't think it was appropriate to reach out and ask for help, especially in a holistic environment.
Yes.
From a business standpoint, you could hire a consultant, but a coach is not a consultant. And so I think that's why I never did that. And secondly, I felt like I had all the answers. I did. And so, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't know. And so, interesting, Pete, my client base now is much younger than me. And I guess in retrospect, that makes sense. But when I started the business, I thought I was going to be coaching guys like myself.
Yeah.
And that's not so much. I do have a few clients that are my age, but a lot of them are younger.
Yeah.
And so I think the younger generation or culture is much more open-minded to being coachable, as opposed to my generation or baby boomers. And, I do believe that there's a huge advantage. And quite honestly, I think the younger generation needs it even more so because it's so competitive.
Yes.
You need that extra advantage. And if I had had a coach, I do feel like I could have had an advantage in a lot of challenges that I faced without it.
Yeah. I like how you talk about the generational, mindset. And I think you're right. We're from the same, hey, we'll just grind through it, get it figured it out, all this kind of stuff, where the younger generation are learning like, hey, look, it's definitely competitive out there. And you need everything because it's gone to a global competitiveness.
It has.
So it's different than when you and I were kind of going through the career path. We didn't have the global that we have today. So
we didn't have Google.
Yeah.
We didn't have YouTube. So if you don't know how to do something, you YouTube it.
Yeah.
Okay. The generation today, they're used to reaching out and learning and finding out how to do something.
Yep.
So I see that as a real benefit and positive.
Yes, I do too.
But, being self-aware and embracing the positives, a lot of people don't do. They're not self-aware of that. And coach's role is really to help them, guide them through that journey to success.
You said early, I think maybe it was before we came on the air, we were talking about, that time where you have that self-reflection, like you hit 60 and that's a number, but you've lived a good majority of your quote unquote career. Because if we go by the standard of 65, that's 5 years from the quote retirement. But we know we never retire, because you can't get a productive person like yourself and sit on the porch and read the paper.
Like you, 200 podcasts in.
I mean, I work 15 hours a day, 6.5 days a week. Now, I love it, but I didn't envision myself at 66 putting in that kind of hours. But my point was kind of like the self-reflecting. When you started to kind of like process this, talk to our viewers about what you were thinking. Like, you could have just wrote it right out and not done a thing, but you didn't.
Right. I mean, I think I used the word earlier with you, sobering. Age is not a definition per se, but it's sobering in that you only have so many years of life. I mean, if we live till 90, 60 is getting closer to 90. So have you accomplished what you want in your life at 60? Now, 60 is a crazy number, and I can't believe I'm 60, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, I've experienced a lot of great things, but what else do I want to do with my life? So empowering and being self-aware enough to know that I want to make a change is why I changed. Yes, I had a great company. I still have a great life, but it was time for me to change it. Doing a second chapter in your life like this can be challenging. I have coached right now several people through a career change. And in your 50s and 60s, that's a difficult change. Yeah. There are people changing even in 70s, I guess. But I think it's worth it. In my case, Pete, I've enjoyed this. I am so blessed and happy that I'm allowed to do this, and people have brought me into their life. And I say that with all honesty. It's a journey that I am blessed to be a part of with each person. And I take it seriously.
Yeah. And I think to the next question of, so we always because you were always solving problems at Blue Sky. I mean, if you're not solving problems, you're not living, because that's the way it is. You got to just
owning a business is by definition solving problems.
Yeah, totally. We had a gentleman on this morning. He's with the Army Ranger, and what they did in the 30 some years, he said, is always being adaptable, flexible, solving problems. That what you said, emotional intelligence is really important, because you're faced with so much change in life. And we look at what happened in COVID. If you couldn't change, which a lot of people were not good at that. They wanted to go down the whatever path they were going, but you did, and you made that change. What was it like when you're sitting in certification first day, and now you're using brain cells you'd never used? Were you going like, what the heck did I get myself into? Or did you just kind of say, this is the next chapter?
Not at all. I would say it was a time for me to embrace the best part of the job of CEO. So when I was set free, it was like amazing. I'm coaching some of my previous employees.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I have 2 corporate accounts that I coach their leadership.
Right.
Because leadership development is part of coaching.
Yes.
Even if you're not an entrepreneur, you're leading in a lot of different areas of your life, and your professional life and your personal life. That holistic approach is very important to feeling fulfillment and, happiness. And so I was being set free, dude. It was day one. Now, it was not during school. during the academia part of this, it was new to me. And I was learning a lot of procedures and techniques that I was not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I used some of them. I just wasn't aware that they were like actual techniques
Mm-hmm.
to help people. I had to use them because I had to keep my company surviving.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very freeing, I think.
Do you think, because I know a little bit about you and Ann through your journey, and I know Ann changed careers years ago.
Yes, she
I
did.
mean, from accountant to
A
counseling.
CPA to
I
a
mean,
counselor.
that's as drastic as you can get, because I was always amazed when I knew her story, because we helped her way back when do some marketing. So I understood the transition. But my question is, y'all have served in other capacities, like you always did couples at Westridge. And so you were always kind of coaching on the side.
Right.
And serving. I think coaching is really serving. I mean, I don't know that I know the word is coaching, but that's just a technical word. Do you feel like you were just like set up for what you're doing now because you did so much of the serving and mentoring, coaching in your position in your career? What influence did that have on
Well, I don't know if I was being set up, but it certainly prepared me
you? Mm-hmm.
to help people in a lot of different situations today. So, uh, you know, I think all of us take with us in our story everything we've learned up to this point.
Yeah.
And so it has really prepared me for whatever challenge people bring to me. And surprisingly, people have a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And just, you say it's serving. Coaching is a portion of it is serving, but really it's a person that is wholeheartedly dedicated to encouraging and accountability in someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty simple. I've said this before, it's the verb. Life's challenges are the verbs. It's not the nouns, it's the verbs.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to do something, it requires a lot of mental and physical focus. And so encouragement and accountability are the two things that make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about me being your best friend. I mean, it's not about education. Some people will say, well, coaching is like training. No, it's really not.
Yeah.
Now, I am consulting in a lot of cases, especially when it comes to corporate companies, like companies that have, hundreds of people and they have a lot of leaders and they have specific goals they want each leader to hit. I can help coach them that. And that is rolling into the world of consulting. But majority of one-on-one coaching is not that. It's about encouraging someone, getting them to think with powerful questions, getting them to be self-aware with their answers, and then holding them accountable to achieve what they want.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that when I really do, because there's so many personal things that I would have liked to done. Yeah. I don't regret it, but at the same time, I feel like I missed an opportunity. And so that's why I want to encourage people why coaching is important.
Yes.
Investing in yourself is money well spent.
Oh,
time well spent.
Yeah.
I mean, physical, right?
Yeah.
Like taking care of ourselves in any
Absolutely.
capacity.
Yes.
Now, moving forward, it's just well worth it. But a lot of people don't see that.
Yeah.
They minimize it. And having someone remind them of what's important in their life is a huge element to have.
Yeah, you said something which I want our viewers to kind of take home. Again, the investment in yourself, no matter what you do, is always going to be the best investment you could ever make.
Yes.
So buying a new TV at Costco, not so. Putting that investment in you, because we're capable of doing things we don't even know we can do.
Right.
And so that you invest in yourself, that's I've told people, I've shared that's never question yourself investment. Now, whether you take that, like, I'm sure you have some people who think I just need to show up and I'm going to get coached to the next level. No, it's a commitment, accountability, so you're also probably challenging them, you're pushing them a little bit, because we'll do things and disappoint ourselves. But if I tell you that I'm going to do something, you darn right, I don't want to be embarrassed to say, hey, Don, I didn't do that this week. I just took off. What do you mean you took off?
Well, you won't be embarrassed. I won't embarrass you, but I will hold you to the fire.
Yeah, and that's what it should be.
Well, yes, to a certain degree, yes, it should. I mean, I think, at the end of the day, everybody's wired differently. And I've learned this. I've learned so much in the last 6 months. I really have. Like, everybody is so different. And so listening to people is a skill. I was a CEO. I wasn't a great listener. I was an okay listener, but I've gotten a lot better at hearing the nuances of what people say and helping bring that out so that they can understand it themselves. You say investing in yourself is important, and it's easy to say that, but how do you do that? And the verb of doing it is hard.
Yeah.
I'll go back to something else you had prompted is everyone coachable? No. Early in my career here, I have come up with an assessment. It's 12 questions that I go through with people initially to see if they're even coachable. And it's not a negative thing, but I think you have to be ready to be coachable.
Yep.
And some people are not coachable.
Yep.
They just aren't. And so there's no success there from a coaching standpoint. I'm not saying they can't be successful, but I've learned sort of what works with me and how I can help people be successful. And that's not always everyone.
Do you feel there's a comparison when you're talking about that being coachable? There had to be clients that over the years that you felt you weren't a good fit for, and you would kind of say, hey, look, I think that you'd be better served over on that part. Is that kind of the same thing?
Yes.
That you want to pick the people that are going to be receptive to the skills that you have to bring, and in your case, it was a trade show business.
Right. You're exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very specific niche, trade shows. And so not every company is going to fit our expertise, our company's expertise. Exact same thing with coaching. My personality can be a little abrasive. It is direct, but it's authentic and it's honest. And, but not everyone's going to click. And so that assessment that I created really helps identify quickly for both of us or a company, even a company, if it's going to be the right fit. I'd like to say that I can work with anyone, but honestly, there are some people that aren't ready to be coached.
Totally.
And, I don't want to waste people's time and energy if they're not serious about, hitting that success. Because again, the sobering part is my age, where I'm at, and what I want to do with the rest of my life.
What would you say waking up today, how is it different than waking up 3 years ago? In like, you're still that driven type of person that likes to achieve and have a level of that you want to go. What's the difference in the two?
Well, I'm still driven. I have the best job in the world. I've said that for the last 35 years. From working in a drugstore, I loved it. I worked in a drugstore. It was awesome. To designing and building exhibits, which was just a fun job. But now to building into people's lives, what I would say the difference is that, what I'm doing now makes a difference. It can make an eternal difference from a Christian perspective.
Mhm.
You know, building a trade show, I don't want to say superficial, but building a booth is short-lived. You know, it does have a goal, and it's needed. It's needed for brand development and sales and growth. Um, but what I'm doing now has an eternal value. It has
Yeah.
a value. You know, you said it. Investing in yourself is probably the best investment you could ever make, and I'm helping in that. So I wake up excited. I wake up sad sometimes. I have in my 6 months, I've had some clients that have gone through some challenges.
Mhm.
You know, coaching can also help get through, uh, you know, loss. When someone dies, the coach can help someone get through addiction. It's not counseling,
Mhm.
but a coach really can help accountability in the steps to success through that.
Yeah.
And so I wake up just as happy as before. I don't want to say I'm happier, but I do think that I'm fulfilling something that is much greater
Yeah.
than when I was in trade shows.
No, I think I like how you describe the two. Because if you're pouring into people and changing lives, it's generational change.
Yeah.
And so a trade show, I don't know if that's generational.
Now, you know what?
That would be a stretch. Like
It
I
feels
had
like
a trade booth that just rocked years.
it fills landfills, so it's generational. It'll
Yeah,
be around like
exactly.
100 years from now, unless we
Yeah,
recycle. So that was one of the big things I was working on, is making sure that all our materials were recyclable,
right.
because I had a strong feeling about that.
Hmm.
So I don't want to fill landfills. I'm not doing that now.
Yeah,
Although I am, what is this, a carbon footprint now,
yeah,
consuming time and
yeah.
energy in that area.
What do you think? Like, do you think about lifestyle that you now have? I'm just going to say, because I've heard it said before, you're kind of, when you do that career and you find something that you've been doing for years, it's kind of like a painting and you can paint whatever you want. Do you find yourself now looking at your lifestyle along with your career goals and making it more like holistic and
Integrated.
yeah, like you saying, okay, and hey, let's go to Italy. Let's go and let's work in the schedule more towards lifestyle than you did maybe in your regular career at Blue Sky.
Absolutely. Pete, you hit
Okay.
upon something that me as a coach, I hope, can bring to people at a younger age.
Mm-hmm.
That life, that skill set of holistically integrating your professional life and your personal life is a key.
Yeah.
I don't think it comes naturally. I think it's intentional, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things to get that integrated. Yes, for me now, it is more integrated, but honestly, age brings that too,
Sure.
and necessity. You know, raising kids and buying a house, and right now I don't want to buy everything. I'm trying to
Get rid of it.
purge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
so,
Isn't it a different mindset?
it
Like,
is.
get rid of stuff. Like, yes.
But I think it's equally, if not more important at a younger age, to identify how you can integrate those two
Yes.
better. Your holistic life, your health, your family, your culture, your career, your
Mm-hmm.
finances, uh, all of that really is hard to balance.
Yeah.
And the more you can balance and grow in each of those areas, the further ahead you're going to be, I think, in feeling fulfilled
Yes.
the older you get. And
Yes.
so there's no time like today to start,
Yes.
And like I said, it's intentional, but a lot of people are aware of it, but it's the verb of taking action.
Yeah, I heard another person say this, and it happened to me. It's called mortality motivation. When you stare death in the mirror, you see a different outlook on life because it's almost like you're playing with the house money because
Yeah.
you can't lose because you have an opportunity to whatever you want to do because every day is precious because we're not guaranteed. We talked about a person you knew that had lost somebody at a young age. And we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So living your life to the fullest every single day, I think really puts the warmth in the heart, because you said earlier that maybe you weren't the best listener as the CEO. And I think being present is a very fulfilling mindset, because if I'm present with a person, I'm not distracted by all the other things going on. I get more out of the conversation or the time with a person, because I've now shifted it because of a change in life. Do you feel like, okay, if you said 90 and you're 60, so that's 30 more years. If we, God willing, you get to 90, maybe hit the 100 if you do a few good things and whatever, you're seeing some crazy things in health, like these advancements in extending life. Our life keeps getting, if we do the things. What would you say, like 30 is a lot of years?
Sure.
So let's take Don out a few years. Like, are you still, like, how are you looking at that chapter of your life versus the career chapter where you just, everything's coming at you and you're moving and grooving? What was this chapter going to be different than the previous, 40 years, 30 years?
Well, I think being able to do something that I really love from a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, from an energy education standpoint is wonderful. I may not have been able to do that in my 40s, 30s or 40s. I don't know if you know this, but my mom was married 6 times.
I didn't know. I mean, I knew a little bit, but not that.
It had a huge impact on me.
Sure.
Number one, how I perceive relationships. But number two, I got to see 6 different gentlemen retire. And she had wonderful taste. They were wonderful fathers. At one point, there was a moment where I got 5 birthday gifts. I got birthday gifts from 5 different men.
Wow. That's kind of a benefit. Yeah. Who doesn't like getting birthday gifts? I mean, that's
all my friends and family, they're like, who are these people? And I was like, these are all my dads. But they were really great fathers. So I didn't have a negative perspective of that. But what I did see is each of them try to retire. And for me, that is probably never going to be not working.
Right.
So working, professionalism, having a career has been a part of my life as long as I can remember. And so to give it up, it just doesn't make sense to me. So for me, and I got to see some of my dads try to do it. And they really physically and mentally failed in some cases. And so for me, this transition of helping people as a coach will benefit me long into my older years. And it's something I'm really passionate about. So I don't see it changing anything. In fact, I think it's very intentional to make this move. Just like I think, Pete, you have found a niche that you're super passionate about and very good at. And so it's important in this season of life. And it's just a change of seasons. It's not bad.
Sure. I agree.
Even when things in our personal life change that are perceived as bad or challenging, it is a season you're going through. And so there is a way to enjoy it. We have to find it.
I'm going to give your information and put it on the screen, but a person told me this the other day, and I just have to share this story. They always look at a person's attitude, and twins, these twins, were from the same parents, but both of them had completely different attitude. So they thought, okay, we're going to figure out what the difference is. And so what they did was, at Christmas time, they put them in 2 separate rooms, and you may have heard this, but it's hilarious because of what you just talked about. The one twin went into a room and it was full of toys. It had everything in it. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Just shower them with toys and see if they're happy. The other one, they put horse manure in there. And so they're thinking, okay, one's going to say, what the heck's going on? The other's going to be happy as can be. But the one with all the toys was going through, oh, this is going to break. This one, I don't like this. And went through all the toys, not satisfied. They went over to the one room with the horse manure, and he's throwing all the manure. And they're going, what the heck are you doing? He says, if there's enough horse manure in here, there's got to be a horse. And so you got a different perspective. And I think our attitude does reflect a lot of how we see the world. And if we see it with the horses in the manure, we're going to be fine. If we see that everything's going to break down, hey, I don't know.
Well, let me say this to add to your attitude. Because as a CEO, I used to tell my staff this. Okay, attitude is everything for me.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a great book, The Ideal Team Leader. And it really chronologized, or it looked over a period of time, leaders in this company, and it identified what made the ideal team leader. Attitude is one of those things. Remember this, attitude is one of the things that God has blessed you with, and you can change it and control it every single day of your life.
Absolutely.
You have control over it. And so I believe there's a huge difference in a positive attitude versus a negative attitude. And learning how to really stay in that positive mode is a skill.
Yes, it is.
I think it comes naturally to some people, like you said, twins. But at the same time, you can consciously decide to have a bad attitude.
Yeah. And we are kind of you hear that thing, you are who the 5 people you hang around the most.
Yes.
So we are influenced by the people that
Absolutely.
we surround us. So, if you're going to be around,
negative people,
it's going to wear on you. You might not think it is, but it will. So tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, I have a website. It's donkellercoach.com. I don't coach football or basketball. I coach executives and people in their life. So the website has contact information, and it looks like you put my phone number up there too. So that's how you get a hold of me.
Awesome.
My email is don@donkellercoach.com.
Awesome.
And I appreciate very much you giving me the opportunity sort of just to talk to you about coaching. We didn't really talk about why coaching is a good thing. Maybe you could get that out of this discussion.
Well, we're going to have you back remotely.
Okay.
Because you've made it cross town. You've made it through our senior center.
Yes.
You've met a few of the residents. Now you've experienced Overture. The next time we can do it right from your location. We'll dig further in because there are some things I think really speak to that generational, the way you're looking at things, that you can make an impact even greater by being able to coach people through life, because it ain't easy and it's getting more. I mean, look at where we are. We're either on one side or the other. There's nothing in the middle. It's like you either watch CNN or you watch Fox. You don't watch both. So I had a pastor on, he said, I asked him about that. He said, we just got to give grace. Give grace to a person. I may not agree with you, but I have to respect where you're coming from. And that's all we need to do is respect people where we might be opposed. We don't have to yell and scream at them and that. So tell to our viewers as we wind down, what would be the one thing you want them to take home from our podcast today?
Well, I think to be self-aware enough to invest in yourself, whether it's coaching or eating better, or going back to school, or rekindling a relationship, or asking for forgiveness, really investing in yourself, because it goes so much further than the obvious. A lot of people say it, But once you experience that investment, you'll start to experience a deeper understanding of happiness and what God has really created for us to experience. And so invest in yourself. This is one way to do it, but there's a lot of ways to do it.
Right.
I would hope that they could walk away hearing that. And then, information without application is what, Pete? Useless.
Nothing.
So it's useless to hear it, understand it, know it, and then file it away. Take some action.
Yeah.
Do something.
And we're making that into a soundbite mini video because that's a good one. No, in all seriousness, that really, for our listeners to kind of grasp that concept, I think will take you further by understanding just that very thing you shared with us. So, Don, thank you for being on our show. We appreciate it. And if you want to be able to see our episode of Don, I don't know what number we're on, but go to podcasterpetekane.com or Google him, his name. You'll see him up there. He'll be up there and you'll be able to see more of his episode. And then if you really want, ask questions, put questions below and we'll get them answered the next time we have Don.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it very much.
It was my pleasure.
You got it.
It's a Chick-fil-A term, but we'll use it. Thank you, Don.
All right, you got it.